Good evening. I'd like to start off tonight with by reading you a letter that I received this morning from a publisher, because I sent some poems off, and after being sort of like nagged into doing it by lots of friends and that, and I got this letter back this morning, and well, I have to say it's not very nice, to be honest with you, but I'm going to read it to you anyway. Dear Sir, thank you for the collection of poems you sent for my attention. I've read through them, and upon reflection, to put it bluntly, they lack invention. Your rhymes have led me to these conclusions. What substance there is stifled by style. Your stanzas are products of delusions. Admittedly, one or two make me smile. Have you read William McGonagall, reputedly the worst poet of all? He wrote the most appalling doggerel. Taybridge Disaster is one I recall, but in my view, your poems are far worse. Don't give up your day job, stop writing verse. I read the letter with dawning despair. It was to me like a punch in the eye. I read it through again, pulled up a chair, and then I wrote the following reply. Dear Sir, thank you for your kind advice, but unfortunately I'm unemployed. The day job I did have wasn't that nice, a career I never really enjoyed, so losing it wasn't such a big deal, although the money was handy, it's true. It's given me plenty of time to kill. Indeed, the collection I sent to you would be nowhere near the size it is if I was still on the factory floor. I'm sorry you found my poems remiss, stifled by style, delusional and poor. I couldn't be bothered to finish it. I threw it in the bin and felt like shit. And if you've ever read The Taybridge Disaster by William McGonagall, or if you ain't, Google it and you'll see how bad it is, because it truly is the most appalling poem I've ever read. So you can imagine how bad I felt when I got that letter, but we'll put that to one side, forget about it. You know. This one here, right, this is an old one, for about 6 years back. I first performed it once, I've only performed it once, it was at the Three Wise Monkeys under Mary Ann's invitation. And it's about writer's block, and I dug it out the other day and I had a look at it and I thought, yeah, it's all right. That is. I hadn't altered it. I've left it as it was, you know. And it's called Quill and Ink. If your drive to be creative won't get past second gear, and your need to be inventive lacks a new idea, turn off your word processor and think about Shakespeare. All he had was his quill and ink for his entire career. People say we'll never see another Stratford bard, and to be or not to be, many still regard as Shakespeare's magnum opus, his genius trump card, and all he had was his quill and ink to go that extra yard. He wrote a piece on suicide along with the suggestion that life's not an easy ride and death requires reflection. How many drafts rewritten before he reached perfection? Did he get tired of his quill and ink? That is indeed the question. You might spend a fruitless hour staring at a screen, feeling it's beyond your power to write down what you mean. But if you feel despondent, think how it must have been for Shakespeare with his quill and ink struggling with a scene. If your imagination feels like a dead-end street and writing bears relation to a dead horse being beat, think of Shakespeare striving as you press delete, putting down his quill and ink and tearing up a sheet. If a phase of writer's block is making you depressed and you're turning out a crock and getting more obsessed, not knowing when to quit things, you'll never be your best. Even he with his quill and ink sometimes had to rest. If you want to be successful and shine amongst your peers, but what you write looks dreadful compared against Shakespeare's, turn off your word processor. It can only end in tears. They've marvelled at his quill and ink for the last 400 years, but we all get frustrated. No doubt he struggled too, and he must have felt elated the way most people do when they finally achieve whatever goals in view. Even him with his quill and ink was human, just like you. Right, thank you. We're going to end up with a couple of new ones. Sorry, not old ones, new ones. The first one's called DBAC, which stands for, well, you'll find out what it stands for as I'm reading the poem. DBAC. When we were little boys, younger than 3, our mother would sing us a lullaby, a slumberous, solemn philosophy, and closing our eyes, we'd drift with a sigh into the forest of Nod by and by, where a chorus of toys gathered around and joined with the most melodious sound. Be seen and not heard, but don't be a cunt. To adults and better, listen, take heed. When spoken to, speak with never a grunt. Don't grab all the things you want but don't need. Try on occasion to do a good deed. And when you're queuing, no pushing in front. Remember your manners, don't be a cunt. We brothers were schooled in different ways. I, due to failing the 11 plus, was secondarily taught in good ways, arriving each day by not the same bus as he, the more scholarly one of us, and the pupil of a school in Gants Hill, a grammar whose name I'll not here reveal. School names aside, upon reaching 16 we took the first steps on our long careers. I'd soon be working on a machine, whilst he'd be banking, and over the years our fathers' sage words would ring in our ears. Worldly advice to be held in good stead on the path of life. And here's what he said. Be honest, work hard, and don't be a cunt by passing the buck to hide a mistake while shying away from bearing the brunt. Be seen to be keen and don't ever break the company rules, or else you might make an easy target upon a witch hunt by sticking your neck out. Don't be a cunt. All this and much more we twin siblings heard from father before our first day at work. His pearls, punctuated by the C word, were as flying tips to a fledgling bird. The novice machinist and young bank clerk, founts of new knowledge and no wisdom spared, entered their workstations amply prepared. And all too soon I reluctantly found some of the things father said, to be sure, were not especially helpful or sound. More than a couple I chose to ignore, mistakes I hid, and the rule book I saw as something to flout more often than not, though hard work at first I gave a fair shot. And over the years I learned many ways to foil directors and bosses inclined to lessen our rights and lengthen our days, with company shares and profit in mind, though little reward for our daily grind. And when the time came, life lessons I passed down to my children without being asked. Be thoughtful and kind, but don't be a cunt. Engage with your noddle before you speak, and if I abruptly respond with a grunt, it's likely because I've had a bad week. Work can be sometimes decidedly bleak, a total pain in the arse, to be blunt. Feel free to say to me, don't be a cunt. And on the subject of don't be a cunt, beware of the likes of Trump and Farage. They are to your intellect an affront, embraced by the presently far too large and willfully ignorant entourage of a populist publicity stunt funded by billionaires. Don't be a cunt. And whether or not they bore it in mind, my kids are successful, thoughtful and kind. Right, last one, and basically it's a cautionary tale, okay? And what I'm saying to you is, don't mess with internet trolls because they will fuck you up, right? And this is called Snowflake. I reached the stage of online rage with a troll on the Guardian's homepage, and he called me a fake, a soy boy snake, a woke arse and a snowflake. He followed me, became a pest, sent me a friend's request in jest, and he called me a fake, a soy boy snake, a woke arse and a snowflake. He shot the breeze, aimed to tease with laughing emojis, if you please, and he called me a fake, a soy boy snake, a woke arse and a snowflake. I asked him what his problem was. He said he did it just because, and he called me a fake, a soy boy snake, a woke arse and a snowflake. I typed fuck you, the screen went blank, the laptop died, my heart sank, and he typed I'm a fake, a soy boy snake, a woke arse and a snowflake. He hacked my emails, my account, blackmailed me for a large amount, and he called me a fake, a soy boy snake, a woke arse and a snowflake. He lifted my identity, now all my followers think it's me saying I'm a fake, a soy boy snake, a woke arse and a snowflake. And if you're hearing this, the moral is beware of trolls who take the piss. I'm a fake, a soy boy snake, a woke arse and a snowflake. He called me a fake, a soy boy snake, a woke arse and a snowflake, and I bit and dangled on his thread when I should have ignored and blocked instead. Thank you.